Hey everybody, today I want to talk with you about test anxiety, which is something that I've personally dealt with in the past. And I want to give you 3 short meditations for dealing with test anxiety that have been very useful for me and that I often recommend to my clients. Test anxiety is a future-focused fear of failure that doesn't necessarily mean you are unprepared for the exam. I know that for myself personally, I experience it when I put a lot of hard work into my studies. It's a high-stakes exam, and I care a lot about the outcome. And so it can be a sign to you that mastery is something that's important, or that you're a very ambitious person and you care a lot about your work. And so none of that is a bad thing, but just like any kind of anxiety, what makes test anxiety difficult is that you're going through a lot of mental panic and your body is having a very visceral reaction to it. And so our natural, normal response in that situation is to try and control the anxiety or get rid of it. But if the anxiety is especially high, that often intensifies the experience, making it even more difficult for us to have clarity of mind. And so I like to think of dealing with anxiety the way I might handle being stuck in quicksand, where you have to actually do the counterintuitive thing. So the more you struggle, the more you sink. The more you spread out, allow yourself to kind of go with the flow, the more you rise to the top and eventually drift on out of it. Now, what makes this difficult is that we are not in control over how long it takes to drift out of anxiety. And that's really hard because you can't do the pseudo-willingness thing where you say, all right, I'm just gonna go with this and accept it in order to get rid of it, and then it doesn't happen fast enough and you're back in the struggle again. So you really do have to shift into a genuine place of surrender and allowing, which becomes a lot easier when you start to see anxiety for what it is instead of what your mind says that it is. So let me give you an example. I'm sitting down to take the test and I feel my heart start pounding in my chest. And my mind says, oh my God, I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna bomb this whole thing. What am I doing? My mind is assigning meaning to my heart pounding in my chest. What's really going on here is I can feel the sensation of my heartbeat, which is kind of freaky because I don't normally feel that as I go about the day. But that's the direct experience of what's happening, and we have to be able to distinguish that. And so through meditation, we learn to manage the mind properly under stress. I really recommend that you make a habit of practicing these meditations in class so that your mind and body can start to associate this with being in school. Also because, like any skill set you develop, you don't just knock it out of the park unless you've been training. So you have to practice in less stressful situations first. That's really important. And you'll see as we go that these are the kind of meditations that you can set a timer, sit formally and do by yourself with the eyes closed, but you can also do them very informally with your eyes open as you're in class and nobody will ever know. So let's jump in to meditation number 1. So the first meditation is an expanded awareness practice. When we become very anxious, our attention narrows to the anxiety alone and the rest of the room kind of falls away. So with this practice, we are just expanding our attention to also include 4 other things. We're noticing our breathing, noticing ourselves and the feeling of ourselves supported in the chair, noticing what we can see in the room around us and what we can hear happening around us. So see if you can hold this expanded stance of awareness even as you continue listening to me talking. Well, as I do this, I like to think of myself as being like a container where I am big enough to hold everything that's happening within me, everything that's happening around me. And this prevents me from getting stuck in a narrow focused attention. Eventually thoughts will come and they will hook you and you'll get pulled out of this expanded stance of awareness. And when that happens, you just notice the thought that hooked you and come back to your stance. The second meditation is labeling anxiety. Anxiety boils down to physical sensations and thoughts. That's anxiety. Even the urge to get rid of anxiety can be seen as a physical sensation. So with this practice, you choose a focal point and you can use your breathing, the feeling of yourself supported in the chair, your feet against the floor, the top of your head. It doesn't really matter. Just choose a focal point that works for you and keep part of your attention on it. The rest of your attention is on the lookout for anxiety in the form of physical sensations and thinking. And when that shows up, you just label it. And then when thoughts show up, often they will hook you and you'll forget about your focal point completely, and that's totally normal. Once you've noticed that that's happened, you label the thought thinking. And then I like to say, thank you, mind, and then come back to my focal point. And I like to say thank you, mind, because it really just helps me diffuse whatever thoughts were hooking me to begin with. So the third practice is a courage meditation. And to be courageous really just means I am committed to doing this, even as I'm feeling what I'm feeling. So with this practice, you focus on your breathing and your heart center, and you imagine yourself kind of opening and softening around your heart. And then you repeat the phrase, I'm here, I'm okay, I'm grounded in courage. When waves of emotion come and start to sweep you up, you just notice when that's happened, take a breath and come back to your heart center and repeat the mantra, I'm here, I'm okay, I'm grounded in courage. Now, if these words don't resonate with you, that's totally fine. Just choose something that works for you, something that's really calming. But that's courage meditation. So there you have 3 short meditations for handling anxiety. You have your expanded awareness practice, the naming anxiety, and your courage meditation. And with all of these practices, if you're doing them while you're in class or while you're taking the exam, you do them exactly the same way, but you add another focal point, which is the intention of fully engaging in what you're doing, whether that's listening to the teacher or taking the exam. So you still have your other focal points that we talked about, but then you also have this added intention of continually re-engaging when you get swept away. If you like this video, hit that like button, and would love to have you subscribe if you want to see more videos from me in the future. Also, try out these 3 meditations and leave some comments below about what worked for you, maybe what didn't work so well for you, and any modifications that you might have made. When you engage in the comments like that, this platform becomes even more powerful for people looking for guidance. So I would love to hear about your personal experience with these practices, and I do hope that they are helpful for you. Good luck on your tests. Have a good one.